Rapper Tory Lanez, aka Daystar Peterson, needs no introduction. He is now in prison. His case was widely publicized and scrutinized for a very long time. Now, he was involved in a shooting incident with himself, Megan Thee Stallion, and another woman, I believe it was Kylie Jenner. And long story short, people said that, Megan wasn't injured. She was. They said she had bullet fragments in her foot. Some people said it was glass.
Accusations. These are not accusations. This is false accusations.
Some said that Kylie Jenner was the one that actually pulled the trigger instead of Tory Lanez. There was a lot of scrutiny, what ifs, conspiracy theories, and things like that. And for YouTube purposes and for legal purposes, because Megan Thee Stallion is taking people to court for what she calls bullying and things like that, I will say that rapper Tory Lanez was sentenced to 10 years in prison on August 8th of 2023. He was sentenced for assault with a semi-automatic firearm, carrying a loaded weapon, unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging a firearm with gross negligence. All right. Now, since he's been in prison, he's faced a few very harsh adversities, and he had an appeal. He had one appeal already, and I think that was denied. And I believe he's up for a second appeal. And he is now, for the very first time, speaking out publicly on the news about his situation. And he didn't say anything bad about Megan, even though he was asked about her. He's trying to take a more philosophical, more remorseful approach to this. And me personally, I think Tory Lanez should be freed. If you want my opinion, I think that the case should be looked at again. I will put it that way. Okay. So in any case, I believe I want to play and react to what he had to say in this interview. Right. So of course, this is on YouTube. I got to get my fair use clause. This is on NBC News. I'll leave a link to it in the description box. For all of you, stop pausing the video ninjas and you talk too much ninjas. And before we get into the reaction, please hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, all right? And I still need people to join the channel membership, right? Hit this button down below to join the channel membership, or hit the Cash App $, Mr. Normie, because I do this for fun, but I also do it for funds. Fair use.
Tonight, rapper Tory Lanez breaking his silence in his first ever broadcast interview from behind bars since being found guilty of shooting Grammy winner Megan Thee Stallion in the foot outside a party in 2020.
I've never been violent towards a woman. I would never hit a woman, let alone shoot a woman.
Lanez, whose real name is Daystar Peterson, spoke to NBC News from California Men's Colony, a prison where he's 3 years into a 10-year sentence after being found guilty on 3 felony counts, including assault with a semi-automatic firearm.
There is definitely a very big misconception about me that seems to the public as I'm this monster. And I feel like I was catapulted into this.
All right. Now, of course, he has proclaimed his innocence, as you can see here. And you see all the signs. We stand with Megan. This trial was also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was not made public. And I think that was the case. Megan's team, I believe, put that order in to have it done that way. And I think it was to keep the public perception or public image of her, it was done for her to keep the advantage of having public perception in her favor, right? Because everybody said that he did it. It was a black man versus black woman thing. It was a protect black women thing, all those kind of things, right? The narrative stayed in her favor because nobody was able to actually watch this trial for themselves, in my opinion, okay? And with that being said, the outcome was what it was. And now she's a champion, and now she's dating Klay Thompson. He passed the paper bag test. He's the nice guy. She's been dating thugs and music producers. Tory Lanez is one of many men she's dated in the past that were nothing like Klay Thompson. But in any case,
poster child for the unprotection of black women. And it's just so unlike me. And I've never really had a chance to express that. But you can look at my criminal record. I don't have one. I never had one. And I feel like, that connotation that I would do anything of this monstrous proportion is completely incorrect and it's wrong.
Lanez declined to testify during his 2022 trial. Do you regret not taking the stand?
I think if I would have taken the stand, the verdict would have definitely been very different.
The rapper's legal team filed an appeal, which was denied in November. But his team is continuing to fight, with plans to file multiple appeals next week, this time with the California Supreme Court, in one claiming newly discovered evidence that they weren't provided during Lanez's 2022 trial.
Now, there was, I don't know if it's a rumor or maybe conspiracy theory or whatever, but allegedly there was evidence that was not entered into the trial that probably could have worked in Tory Lanez's favor. I don't know why that is or if that's the real thing, but if so, I believe, again, this case deserves to be looked at one more time with a fresh set of eyes, with all the evidence, including the new stuff that's being presented or attempting to be presented at his new appeal.
Including hundreds of pages of medical records for Megan Thee Stallion, whose real name is Megan Pete, which they allege raise questions about the fragments removed from her foot after surgery. His team argues that the fragments were not provided ahead of trial and that this was a violation of due process.
We didn't have that chance. Or perhaps we could have questioned the doctors differently when they were on stand to impeach them, because it does look suspicious.
But in the appeal denied in November, the court did address the fragments, ruling that the surgeon's testimony was, quote, more than sufficient to prove great bodily injury on Pete. Proving something like this on appeal is tough.
This is a really, really difficult appellate argument for defendants to prove, because they have to show if the evidence actually came into court, the jury would have found differently. It's an uphill battle, and it's something that often torpedoes any defense appellate argument.
I understand what she's saying, that the evidence that you have, basically the evidence that you have or are going to bring to this fresh trial has to be strong enough to possibly sway the jury. Okay. And so if you don't have that, then essentially your case is already sunk before you even get in there. So I understand that. But if they think that the evidence is good enough, I mean, let him go in there. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? He's already got 10 years. So the worst that can happen is he loses and he has to continue sitting in prison. So I mean, why not?
Los Angeles District Attorney's Office and representatives for Megan Thee Stallion have not responded to NBC News' request for comment.
I believe not only that I was wrongfully convicted, but the amount of new evidence that has emerged since that trial, I think, has been overwhelming.
What has life been like in prison for the last couple of years?
By the way, shout out to NBC News. I'm glad that they didn't try to villainize him in this interview. They let him speak his piece. He was well spoken in this interview, I think. And they didn't try to make it seem like, he's this monster. They made it seem like, maybe he did a bad thing and he's trying to, rectify the problem, or either he's innocent and he's trying to prove his innocence in a further appeal. So they didn't try to drag him in here, and I kind of appreciate that.
Truthfully, I've done my best to keep my head above water, but mentally, I've gone through trauma that I sometimes even struggle with, because I never imagined myself dealing with things that I would have to deal with. I've been stabbed 17 times.
Let's talk about that for a quick second. When that happened to Tory Lanez, it was all over TMZ, all over the tabloids, on social media and YouTube. And there were a lot of people that were commenting on his calamity, mainly women, especially black women. They were saying, the same thing they said about 47 when he was on that podium out there in the field, right? They were saying that, they should have hit him in the heart, well, is he still alive and blah, blah. I mean, they were preying on this man's losing his addiction to oxygen. And it was very sad and disgusting. But yeah, I mean, the collective.
I almost lost my life.
If you could say something to Megan Thee Stallion today, what would it be?
I think that I wouldn't say something directly to her. I would like that moment to happen in person. We've both gone through a lot. There's this connotation that, like, I share this hatred for her, but I don't. I genuinely passed that. I'm at a place of healing in my life. I'm at a place of taking accountability for the things that I did wrong. And when I talk about my case, I don't want it to be taken as me coming at her, because it's not that. I'm just asking for somebody in the system to look at my case and look at the evidence and ask if this was fair.
And with that, Chloe Malas joins us now on set. So, Chloe, Tory Lanez is also seeking a pardon from Governor Gavin Newsom?
That's right. His legal team has filed the necessary paperwork, and it is before the governor now. So they're seeking either a pardon where his criminal record will be wiped clean, he would be released from prison, or to have his sentence commuted, meaning that the time he has served is sufficient, and release him, but that doesn't change his criminal record. As for when this could happen, the governor typically does these twice a year, so this could happen before the new year.
All right. Chloe Malas for us. Chloe, thank you. We thank you.
Now, I expect women, especially black women, and, men that have their tail tucked between their legs, I expect them to come out and petition to have this man stay in prison, probably, that they believe he did it and they think he's a monster of some sort. And yeah, somebody will definitely campaign for him to stay in prison for his full 10 years. I hope he gets his appeal, and if the evidence is strong enough, then I hope the legal system will give him his just due. All right, I'll say that for YouTube purposes, for legal purposes, because again, Megan Thee Stallion just took that one girl, Milagro Grams or whoever, the blogger, took her to court for bullying and all those kind of things. I think she won or she lost, I don't know. But anyway, she doesn't want anybody talking bad about her or putting her in a bad light when it comes to this case. So I'm walking the tightrope of words on that. So you see what's going on here, right? And with that being said, thank you for attending another episode of the Working Man Podcast. I am your host, Nicholas J. Fury. Let me know what you think about what Tory Lanez had to say. His first time speaking publicly since being incarcerated. Let me know what you think about it down in the comment section. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell. We're out of the door. And Tory, keep your head up. I'm out.